All right, so I think the stream thinking about things ready to go though. So hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give you another very exciting podcast episode. That being my ZardCast episode 89. It's crazy to think, Steven. We're almost on episode 90. And some point, well, it'll probably be like another, I don't know, 20 weeks or so. We're getting close. We're knocking on the doorstep to episode 100. So that end game is in sight. So that's kind of crazy to think about it though. But how's your week been?
It's going good.
Nothing too crazy happening your week. I feel like for the most part, my week has been okay. I mean, my
Yeah.
Arkansas, I had to go on a little side tangent though. It's not extremely gaming related though, but we are in the peak season for sports and stuff. And Steven, you know how I get around football season though. There was like a couple of
Oh
games I felt
God.
like in the past few years, there were some games I was watching while being in the Discord and scared the living lights nights out of y'all. But
Yeah.
we knocked out the number 4 team in the country. My college team did, so I was like, I have to rein it in because I could have almost blew out my voice. And I learned last time, what was it? It was like a few episodes ago, I had my voice blew out. So I was like, no, I can't do this again right before a
Yeah.
podcast episode. So I had to bring it in. The key is always to drink a lot of water and suppress your voice. But I managed to hold in though. But outside of that, how's your week been? Anything crazy?
I'm recovering from pneumonia, thank God. I'm feeling much better today than I have the rest of the week. Um, we'll talk about it later, but I've mostly been playing Echoes of Wisdom when I've been coming home and watching videos. Kind of just been binging a lot of YouTube stuff.
Yeah, man, oh
It's
man.
been it's been a boring couple weeks, but that's just because, Echoes of Wisdom was the last September game I bought, and I really just don't want to buy any more games yet. October is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I mean September was pretty wild, at least for me personally. October, in comparison to September, is a little bit more tame, at least for me personally. Like, there's only 2 games I'm supposed to pick out in October, at least at launch. There's 2 more I wanted to get, but I might have to hold out on them though. But we'll get into it when we talk about all these games we've been playing and some upcoming stuff though. But at least for topics for tonight, we have some pretty good big ones for us to go through and discuss tonight. One of them being Echoes of Wisdom that did manage to drop out not last week, but the week before last. So we both managed to get fairly far up in the game. So we had to give our thoughts on that. We also got to talk about the state of play. I felt, uh, contrary to a lot of people's beliefs, that might have been the best state of play that Sony has put out, and that's saying something. Maybe because of that very last announcement, but we'll get to that.
I'd
Ryujinx,
say it was better. Yeah.
yeah. And then we got to talk about Ryujinx. Nintendo went after them and took them down. We report on Yuzu, so we got to report on these people as well. And then we got to talk about all the Tokyo Game Show announcements related stuff, anything from Xbox, some other things with some other third party stuff. And then we also got to talk about Ubisoft because apparently they're in trouble as well, though. So yeah, we got a whole smorgasbord of great stuff to go through and talk about tonight, though. So we might as well go ahead and jump up in it though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into that pop culture segment. All righty, Steven. Well, dude, not too much in the realm of pop culture stuff. Just a couple of things tonight. But I had to talk about at least Disney Plus because they're starting to crack down just like Netflix because they pulled it out, they pulled the rug out from under us, Steven. No password sharing no more. They stole it
Really?
from us.
How
Yes.
did they enforce that?
It's the same way like Netflix. I think it's like something with the server or not server, the IP address where you're logging into your accounts. They kind of know,
Okay.
like, which Wi-Fi you're on and stuff like that though. So
All
at least
right.
for me and my family, because I share mine with my whole family and stuff, people that reside with me are okay. And then some of my other families that live in other households, they're the ones that's gonna be like, ah shoot. I'm like, hey, I ain't paying any extra for this mess. Like I'm literally getting charged. How much is it? I pay for the yearly without ads. So I get charged like $120 a year because I want to do the flat out year. I don't like being tied monthly, and it saves me a couple of months from not having to pay, but whatever though. Like,
Yeah.
that savings for the yearly bundle. So I just pay the lump sum. I was like, take it, because I got to watch my Marvel stuff and occasionally some Disney movies. I always make my money back year over year. But man, that sucks. So if they want it, they got to give me the extra money, because I ain't giving Disney any extra money on top of
Yeah,
this.
I've kind of been considering canceling Disney Plus only because I don't know, I'm just not watching anything on there too consistently. Like I'm better off just buying, like renewing my subscription for whenever I want to watch something.
That's not a bad strategy to do if if you want to watch just a few things here and there though. But Disney somehow manages to properly pace out some stuff, at least for me personally, where it's like, okay, you have like something like an Agatha is all along, and they manage to perfectly time that out. And then there's the one Disney movie that I didn't manage to see in theaters, like for example, Inside Out 2. I just watched that actually last week, or like 3 or 4 days ago, I think. I just managed to sit down and watch that on Disney Plus. So they managed to properly space out their stuff to where it's like, dang it, I just might as well get the whole thing for a year. But for a lot of people like you, I can understand why you just wait till the shows stack up and binge them all in a month or two or something.
I might because like I don't know, every time a new Disney movie comes out, I've found myself saying, I'll just watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I do that pretty much for almost everything, unless it's like it has to be something really big. It has to be something
Yeah,
really big for me to say I'm going to see that in theaters
I mean,
nowadays.
yeah, like Deadpool and Wolverine. I wasn't gonna wait for that.
I usually don't
That
wait for anything Marvel.
yeah, well, for me at least, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I was like, you know what? I'll watch it when it comes to streaming. Heard a lot about it and then never watched it.
Yeah. Outside of that, it wasn't too much. I just had to give my little bit of spill on Disney Plus though, because they got good stuff. They got good shows. We're right around the spooky season for Halloween too. So it's like, oh shoot, if I'm watching Halloween shows, I usually just boot up Disney Plus and just start watching some classic stuff. Like,
I'll
like Halloween
definitely,
Town High or stuff like that.
I'm definitely gonna watch Nightmare Before Christmas again. How
Oh
could
yeah.
I
I
not?
need I need to give that another watch too.
Such a good movie.
Yeah. Outside of that, that's all I have for this one, though. So that's gonna do it for the basic stuff, for the pop culture stuff. But now, oh man, Steven, they managed to bring out some news though. So I gotta roll this one clip one more time though. So let's go ahead and swing it on over and bring out that Marvel news.
Okay.
Alrighty, so we managed to finally get that trailer, Steven, for Thunderbolts with the asterisk on the end. With the asterisk, can't forget about that asterisk. I don't know what that really means, but I imagine we're gonna find out sooner rather than later, because we managed to get this trailer. And honestly, this trailer came out a little sooner than what I was thinking, because this movie's supposed to come out May of 2025. Like, remember, February is supposed to be Captain America Brave New World. So this movie
Yeah.
is coming out in May. And I was really curious to see how they're going to pull this off, because essentially this is like Marvel's versions of Suicide Squad from like DC and stuff. So I was like, okay. And when you look at the roster of the characters, it's like you can kind of see the potential, but it's like, do you think they can all mesh well together? Like individually, they're for the most part solid. I mean, some of them not nearly as strong as others. Like obviously characters like Bucky and stuff like that. Like I thought really had solid characters and stuff. But it's like mixing this pot together. I was just wondering how well are they gonna mesh together. And at least from the trailer I got, I think it's gonna do all right, Steven. I think it's gonna do all right. It wasn't doing anything crazy, and it really, honestly, they've been doing pretty good about keeping their spoilers, like in terms of like a major antagonist or like the overall in-game objective. They've been doing pretty good in terms of covering that up in their trailers. Like you have to really pick this trailer apart to really get into the nitty gritty on it, though. But how were you feeling when you saw this trailer?
It looks Here's the thing, I don't necessarily know if I'm gonna be all that interested, but it certainly looks more fun than most other MCU movies recently. And like at least for me, Bucky Barnes, I guess he's gonna be the leader of this team, but he's probably like the biggest star in this movie. Like, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes is probably gonna get a lot of people to watch this, and I think he's a pretty good character. from all the movie, all basically everything up to Endgame I've seen with him in it because I didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like him a lot. He's a very interesting character. You have other characters like that. I think these some of these characters could get like good second chances, like Taskmaster in the MCU, or Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, or just Red Guardian from Black Widow. I just think there's a lot of interesting characters that they are gonna mash together in this.
Yeah, and I feel like what you were talking about in terms of like the leader, as much as I wanted to be Bucky, the vibe I got off that trailer, it seems like it's gonna be more so Yelena. Obviously, Yelena, Black Widow's sister and stuff. I feel
Yeah,
like she's actually gonna be the main ringleader because it seemed like, at least from the vibe I got from the trailer, Yelena's kind of like somewhat organizing the group just a little bit. Obviously, they do not mesh well at first. Kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. Like when you put this many characters together, obviously they're not supposed to mesh well. They got to learn how to gel, and that's part of the journey and stuff. But I think the one advantage that this movie will have definitely over something like an Eternals or something like that is the fact that we've seen these characters before in previous movies. So we already can resonate with the background stories of every single one of these characters for the most part. Unlike Eternals, where they're all brand new, and it's like, dang, you're trying to learn them real quick in the span of a
yeah.
movie. So that's what one thing that this thing has going for it, though. So I appreciate that regard, though. But outside of that, it does seem like Yelena's going to be the one taking charge, and it seems like Bucky is going to be the one that's going to try to bring them down to earth because obviously Bucky has been through and seen a lot of stuff from the first Captain America movie all the way up to Endgame and stuff though, and into Falcon and the Winter Soldier though. So he he's seen it all from the good, the bad, and the ugly though. So he's definitely going to try to keep the team in line while Yelena's also trying to spearhead this thing. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. Now in terms of the
My
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say maybe you'll get into this. What I'm more interested in, honestly, is like, what is this team's goal gonna be? Like, it's the same question that you'd ask in like a Suicide Squad. Like, why get a bunch of these like villains together instead of getting a bunch of like soldiers, which I guess they'll answer in the movie.
Mhm.
Like what can they some of them do have actual powers, but for the most part, what can they do that like regular people can't?
I think,
Like
well, actually, I'm looking at all of them right now. Ghost
Red
has
Guard.
powers. Taskmaster, not necessarily. It's just like more like physical enhancement. Um, I always like to call this dude Fake Cap. I can't ever remember the dude's name. I just call him Fake Cap. But obviously, yeah, he has a super soldier serum and stuff like that. Same thing with Bucky. Same thing with Red Guardian too. And Yelena's just a basically. I think Yelena's the only normal person on the team, basically like a Black Widow,
There's
but obviously just enhance physical combat and stuff just through
yeah,
training.
there's one or two people on the poster that I don't recognize, but like that's it.
Yeah. And then obviously, I think word on the street is they're also going to squeeze in here the Red Hulk, which we'll have to see how that plays out at the end of the Captain
Well,
America movie. And I think
is
maybe
it
that's what that asterisk means. I feel like that has to be it.
like that he's part of the team,
I don't know if
or
he's
like
part of the team or if he shows up in the movie, but I think he's supposed to be in the movie somewhere.
the asterisk probably has a meaning, but like I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. But at least that's just what word's been on the street even before they dropped this one trailer, though. But if that were to be the case, they're going to keep that under wraps until we're done watching the Captain America movie, though. So they have to kind of keep that tight niche. But
yeah.
I think outside of that, I think this one holds promise, and I feel like we're getting back to the traditional Marvel in a sense, because we're gonna go from Captain America, then we're gonna get hit with this. Shoot, what's the next movie that comes after that? Oh, Fantastic Four and stuff. So then we're gonna be on the ball at that point, though. So I'm looking,
Fantastic Four better be good.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to these next few upcoming movies, though. So I think maybe Deadpool and Wolverine along with a couple of stuff we got before that, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, might have been the turning point. So now we're about to get in the usual groove and stuff and work our way over to Avengers Doomsday with, Robert Downey Jr. playing as Doctor Doom. So
I
overall,
really,
I'm looking forward to it.
I really hope they make it work well. I really, really do.
I hope so too, because it's like you can't mess this mess up. Like the potential is there. All you got to do is execute. And I think we'll be solid as long as no actors are pulling any funny business on the side. We can't afford none of that no more. But
Oh my God, if Robert Downey Jr. did something, I think the MCU would be screwed.
no, we're fine. That dude's cool. Like he works in
No,
a lot of movies and stuff. Like
well, yeah, he did a
he'd
lot
be
of stuff.
the least likely one to do
Well,
something dumb. It would be somebody else.
well, he did a lot of stuff before joining the MCU. He was like in a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's perfect, but it's
Yeah,
what you
no,
do in the
obviously,
present
like
onward. Yeah,
he got his second chance, and look where that got him.
yeah. All right. Outside of that, that's gonna be it in terms of Marvel stuff. I don't know if we're gonna get any other like big major news from this point moving forward for the rest of the year, unless we get like another update trailer on like Captain America or something like that, though. Unless I want to give my short mini review of Agatha All Along, which for the most part, that show has been all right. I think it's been pretty solid. I think there's like 4 episodes out now. There's only 3 more left. I've been enjoying it. I'm just curious to see where it goes though. But the singing they've been doing in the show hadn't been half bad. I'll say that. I'm not usually one for a lot of singing in the show, but a couple times they sung those tracks. It's been kind of on point. That's all I would say. All right, but outside of that, that's gonna basically do it in terms of all the Marvel news and everything pop culture we have. So we're gonna go ahead and switch it on over to what's in the gaming news. All righty, Steven. So we got to talk about this right here because this was kind of interesting. The fact that if you looked at some of these reports, and I'm really going to have to break this down because it's like if I just say it some kind of way, it's going to sound a little bit odd though. But whenever you go on the any digital storefront, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, you usually will go onto those storefronts and buy a game digitally, right? And you technically own the game to a certain level of degree. However, it's not like you own the game per se in the sense that you bought a physical game. So, like, we've
Yeah.
seen stuff like Concord and, various other games in the past where it's like sometimes you might buy a game digitally. You just have the license to basically play the game. It's not necessarily like you're purely owning it because games
Oh
like
my
Concord and
God.
stuff, if something happens to pop up and, if the publisher, that means Sony, just kind of feels some kind of way, they could take that mess out of your library. It's not like you really own any of the games that you own digitally that you ever buy. But according to this one report, California Governor Gavin New- Newsom, goodness, that's a weird last name. He signed a bill into law that will basically force storefronts to admit that you don't actually own your digital purchase games, films, and TV shows. You're just licensing them. So it's like it's weird because like once that mess kind of broke out, even though that's only one state in the country, we both don't live in California. We're kind of on way further east than from California though. But we have some friends that kind of live close to California though. But that kind of
Yeah.
brings into questions like, well, if they're going to do this for one state, and we know how big the gaming industry caters to like the North American audiences, because it's like most of companies' money and revenue generates from America. If you got, and a lot of people live in California, might I add, but if you got a lot of people that you're relying on money from, and you got to also pay homage to what is actually enacted in this bill in California, could you see the day whenever you go to the eShop and it's not like you see a purchase or buy button, but it's like something else, and it kind of makes consumers feel a certain kind of way. I don't know. That's just a lot to wrap your mind
Well,
around, though. I think I
well, here's the
rambled long enough.
thing.
Steven, how you feeling?
Yeah, so I looked into it. This isn't gonna apply to every single game. Any game that
Oh
allows
man,
off,
hold up, Steven. Wait, hold
what?
up here. I'm not sure what happened. Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay. Never
uh,
mind. That was on me and my headphones. Go ahead.
you can hear me?
Yeah, I had it turned on.
Yeah. So as I was saying, this isn't gonna like change every single game. For example, games that like undoubtedly provide offline play will, like games that are offline. You buy a Nintendo game, it's not gonna have this. unless it's like Mario 35. I think this is gonna apply to those cases, like your Mario 35s, your you know everything that Ubisoft is doing, where like it's not gonna actually change the gaming industry. It's just gonna provide more transparency. So you buy your copy of Astrobot, it's just gonna say buy. You're buying that game. But then you switch over to like Call of Duty, it would say like purchase the license to play Call of Duty. Just an example. I'm not saying that they're gonna take Call of Duty from people, but I feel like it's only gonna apply to certain games. A company legally has to put that, or else they can't take it offline, or can't
And
take it from you.
and here's another thing I wanted to add up on here, though. At least for the time being, this applied to those games where it's like you always have to play online. Like if your Wi-Fi or your router went out, then you couldn't play the game. This is what this is actually referring to. So games such as like your Genshin Impact or your Honkai Star Rail, stuff that where you can
Always
only play
online.
online, always online. That's what it applies to. Isn't
Which yeah,
technically
that,
Fortnite always online?
the, here's the
There's
thing. Fortnite is like a primarily online game. I forget if it ever had some kind of offline thing. Probably not. It's Fortnite is a live service game, and it is a massive multiplayer game. Um, I think any offline content that Fortnite ever had is gone now. I don't know.
okay, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
that
Fortnite would technically count in this. It's not like you own Fortnite. You don't own a copy of Fortnite.
yeah. So I think that's the main thing it applies to. Is just mostly games that you purchase digital that you can only play online. So if the servers were to shut down, you wouldn't even have access to playing it. So it's just kind of interesting to see it kind of formulate because with most of these laws and policies and stuff, it usually always starts somewhere and then it kind of expands out beyond that. So it's like we'll see it start off with just only digital games that you can only play online. Then you probably will see it expand to just digital games in general. And then who knows
Yeah.
at some point in the future where we have physical and digital, I fully believe at some point where it'll just be digital and streamable games. So, the landscape is probably going to drastically change, even probably within the next 10 years or so, though. But it's just something to kind of keep your eye out on. Not like something like big, major breaking news, but it's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind as times keep changing as we kind of keep going more towards this digital future.
Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, this is a good example. I've seen it. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, you need to be online even to play the campaign, making it subject to the California law.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is gonna make, companies are either gonna provide more offline options or they're gonna have to word things differently. Because a lot, as much as I think, as much as I think most people don't care, there's gonna be a decent amount of people that just don't even think about purchasing these with a big disclaimer like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you go to purchase like the new Call of Duty game and there's a disclaimer at the bottom saying they could revoke it from you,
I feel like
like
that could influences people's decisions to buy
when
some games, but at the end of the day, if it's a Call of Duty game and that's the only way you can play it, that game makes too much money year after year. People are going to slowly get
yeah, but
accustomed to it though. But for like those hardcore people that really look at things with a fine
like
tooth comb, yeah,
for me the issue is that these games are always at full price. The Call of when a game is priced fully and then they can still take it away from you, that's what I'm worried about.
mm,
I think this is a good change though, because literally all that this law does is force companies to actually, specify.
yeah. At
It's
least they're
it's
trying
not
to bring it.
actually
Yeah, they're trying to bring it to more people's attention. It's not like they're
yeah.
necessarily doing anything bad. It's more so, like the companies themselves are really making the big decisions, but the government is just trying to clear up the air essentially though, and kind of let consumers know, especially the casual audience that might not necessarily be heavily up in the gaming and the news and stuff, kind of like what we are though. But it's a nice move. It's just something to kind of always be constantly aware of though. But Outside of that, not too much more to say up on this one though. So we'll keep the ball over here rolling for this one though. Because oh shoot, Steven. We I was going back and forth thinking about Ubisoft and I was like, should I bring this up? Should I not? Sonic You's been talking about this mess here and there, and I'm like, shoot, I'm gonna have to go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. Because Ubisoft has been like the hot topic for I would say like the past week or so. Because it kind of led up to the launch, or not the launch, to the startup of Tokyo Game Show. Originally, Ubisoft was supposed to be there to showcase off Assassin's Creed. Brother, I forget what the subline name.
Shadows,
Shadows.
I
Yes.
think.
Yeah. Assassin's Creed Shadows. They were supposed to show up to the show and showcase that out, but they bailed out at the very last second, at the ninth hour, and said, oh, due to some technical issues, take it as you may, whether it be technical or not, they said that they're going to hold off on doing this and they're going to pull out of the show. And ultimately, they delayed their game from releasing what should have been in the month of November all the way until like February, like almost like one of the last few days of February, but in the month of February, regardless. And I was looking at that and I'm like, Ubisoft, Ubisoft, Ubisoft. We have to rewind the clock a little bit to kind of look at and see why they're in trouble necessarily because they had a few different games that came out earlier this year. And I say out of all the games they put out, one of them I thought was really good, but I don't think it sold to the level that they really wanted it to be. And that's we're talking about the Prince of Persia game that dropped out January, the first game of the month, earlier this year. That game saw it at some point I will pick it up. That looked like a
Would
good
have been
game.
good. Yeah.
But then the other ones, Skull and Bones and the Star Wars game, did not do good at all, point blank, period. And there's a lot of people that are really upset with the direction how that Star Wars game goes. And obviously, when you're going through and making a game, especially for a Disney game, when you got that license on top, and we already know how crazy these AAA companies like to be in terms of, their budgets and stuff, these ballooning budgets for these games. Ugh, they have not been making up a lot of money. So much so that their stock actually started to tank. And I think at one point, at their highest, I think in the past, it might have been, somewhere north of $50 or something like that. And I think their lowest stock share point, I think it dropped down to somewhere like 12 or 14 bucks, somewhere in the teens, like, stocks. And then, and that was just like really eye opening for a lot of different people, though. So then that doesn't bode well with them with, Assassin's Creed Shadows and them having to delay it. And
Yeah.
they had all this drama and stuff about, misrepresenting, all the people that are in Japan and, that historical era that they're basing the game up in. And
Everything
the list
everything
kind of goes on
involving
and
that
on.
game is stupid.
Yeah.
Everything involving Assassin's Creed, it's like, it's obviously just, Assassin's Creed, it tries to toe a fine line where, oh, we're being they like to they like to praise themselves for being historically accurate, but then they also do stuff like this. There's a
Uh,
lot of people arguing about the historical inaccuracy and how it's disrespectful, which, Ubisoft doesn't fucking care.
and well, they care enough to at least put out a statement saying, "Oh, they
Yeah.
apologize to the Japanese audience." Though, but I'm like,
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
what
literally
the heck?
we're sorry you feel that way. That's
Oh.
it. That's what it basically is. They're not actually sorry.
And
They're
then
gonna
the
release the game the exact same
and then
way.
the fact that they try to showcase off this game and the character, and it's not like one of the lead characters isn't like an Asian man that you would kind of expect within like a Japanese set inspired game, but they put a black man up in there, and then what do they do in terms of playing some music? Nah, it ain't
Oh
no Asian music.
yeah,
It's just some straight up rap music. So now you got the Japanese community, you got the black people community like myself looking over here. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing over here? I don't think we're
yeah.
rolling around in Japan with some rap music, at least back in the day like
What
this.
is the appeal?
Oh no.
I
Oh, that's crazy.
genuinely don't get it. I don't get what the appeal is.
I really don't. I don't know. And it's even gotten so bad within Ubisoft where they started to go through and start doing some internal investigations on why some of their games didn't do as good, or is there something in terms of the development or something like if you haven't looked within your own company and stuff like that, down to the developers themselves, the developers do what the head honchos say that they want, or what some influences that can be influenced upon from like the shareholders and stuff. And I'm like, there's only so much that you can do from a game development thing before somebody higher up than you says, no, we got to do this instead. So I don't think that, I mean, yeah, do what you may in terms of those internal investigations, though, but like, at least people ought to be looking up on the high ground and be like, look at, all the people in suits. They ought to be looking at each other and be like, look, are we gonna sink or are we gonna swim? Like are we
I
gonna
think
hop ship? Like we gotta figure this out.
I think Ubisoft is dying. Like because what do they even have on the horizon after Assassin's Creed? Like
I know
n-
technically, like they're trying to bring back Prince of Persia, which that could be
th-
some promising stuff. Like
yeah,
what is it? One of them's like the remake of like one of the older games and stuff like that. Though they have some
that's been
things
in
in the
development
pipeline.
hell.
Yeah, and it really has been. Like they have to reboot that mess though. But
Beyond Good
outside of
and
that, I
Evil,
don't know.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been in development purgatory.
Ugh.
Like that game was announced at like a really long ago E3, Beyond Good and Evil 2, and then just nothing happened.
Yeah, and then you got other people over here complaining like, bring back Rayman, even though I don't think Rayman's the hottest boy on the block. But they don't even capitalize
Alright,
into some of their
listen,
long standing IPs. Like I don't get it.
listen, Zard. Rayman, no matter what we think of, no matter what you think of Rayman, you gotta admit he's a lot more interesting than whatever they've been putting out.
I mean that is true. I'll give you
He's
that.
I for one fucking love Rayman Legends and Rayman in the just Rayman in general. I've been waiting for a new game, whether it's a 3D game or a 2D game. Kind of just want a new Rayman game, but I don't trust Ubisoft with it anymore. Especially now that the Mario plus Rabbids people are out of the house. The only fucking thing I was really buying from them.
You know what? And I started to think back. I was like, what was the last Ubisoft game I either played and slash or bought? And I think I had to go back to what was it? The Mario and Rabbids one, Sparks of Hope. Before that, it
Yeah,
was like my brother bought me Just Dance, even though I didn't play it. I only played it if the family was around or whatever though. And then
yeah,
before that, it might have been the other Mario versus Rabbids. And if I were to go before that, oh shoot, it's like I think just
yeah,
only Just Dance games, maybe a Rayman here or there, but
yeah.
that's about
All
it.
I'll say, they're making a ton of money with fucking Monopoly license.
Oh
You
shoot,
know,
that's the only thing I feel like that's keeping them afloat. It's crazy if you go back and look at the numbers and their reporting stats, like that Monopoly brand, especially on mobile, makes them bang. That is no joke. Look that up if you're
yeah.
curious. You'll be kind of shocked. And
I
I feel
know it
like
was a
that's
lot.
floating
It,
them a
it was
lot.
like I think it was like $1 billion by itself.
Something crazy like that. Yeah, it's
I don't
right
know.
around that.
It was a lot. It was a lot of money from what I remember. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. So
Um so maybe they won't completely die or anything because of specifically just Monopoly, but I feel like the goodwill has dried up. That's the main thing that's going to lead them to trouble in like the future is that people don't really care about Ubisoft games anymore.
yeah, and two, that's the other thing because you had that weird mindset, especially with Ubisoft, let alone PlayStation or some other places though, where it's like you're so used to not buying Ubisoft games on day one because they usually put that mess on steep discounts later on. I'm a victim to it as well because I've still been waiting on the Prince of Persia game for January to drop down to a good cheap price. I'll probably get it on Steam. I think that's what I've been waiting for to get it on though. But no, everybody's accustomed them to dropping it down to that 20 something bucks, especially for like what was it, Mario Rabbit Sparks of Hope. I basically did the same thing for that one now. And that doesn't
Yeah,
help
that
to your
yeah.
cause because if you're trying to make money as a company, you need as many people buying that mess on day one or at
Well,
least for full price versus when they mark that that game down on sale or something
Well,
like that.
that's the reason why Ubisoft's games go on sale so quickly because they just pop them out like that. We just, pop out a game, pop out the DLC, pop out complete edition in like the span of like 6 months.
Yeah. And then
And then they
even
just move on to the next.
and then even so, even with the Assassin's Creed Shadows, they said they're going to cancel everybody's pre-orders. And then on top of that, if you go back and re-pre-order it again for the new February launch date, we'll give you the expansion pass for all of that stuff. So it's like, dang, they already kind of thought about, some of their stuff, or at least some of their aspirations in terms of like long form content for this game. And I'm like, dang, I was like, I don't think, just giving away free DLC expansion pack stuff is gonna, you know, ease the waters a little bit for most of these people though, because at first I was kind of low key, Steven. I was looking forward to this game. That was before all the controversy, the misrepresentation, the way how they're handling it, all the bugs and stuff. Then that led to the delay and stuff. They literally kicked me out from playing this close to, I would say, around launch to maybe not even at all at this point though. That's kind of where I'm sitting
Yeah.
on this side of the fence.
Um, and then the cherry on top is that the monetization director at Ubisoft was posting on social media about how he was like mad about this whole situation. Like, the monetization director, the guy that's in charge of like, making sure that things are making money. That's all he cares about. Put out a statement so we can, salvage this a little bit more.
I feel like when
And
you're
it,
that high up, you better watch the words that come out of your
yeah,
mouth because
and
anybody's going to
he's
take it any or spin the story any
okay.
kind of way.
So here's what he said. Yeah, it was like people within the industry posting on LinkedIn. He called them clearly non-decent human beings.
Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah,
that's
and he was saying that he's hurt and ashamed to be a part of this community. Does this guy not understand? And Zard, by the way, you heard all the stuff in the back in the couple years ago about Ubisoft, right? Like all the assault stuff.
oh yeah,
Yeah, this isn't Ubisoft's first rodeo. Like they deserve whatever's coming to them, in my opinion.
yeah. So at least where we stand at right now, there's been some stuff floating around to where maybe Ubisoft kind of wants to go from being like a public kind of company to a private. So maybe they're kind of looking at some people to kind of buy them out, like, buy up all the shares so that way they can be like a private owned company. So that way, what was it, like investors and stuff,
Tencent,
yeah, they wouldn't be
uh,
able to influence their game. They can kind of do whatever they want. So that's also been rolling around on the street here though too. And that kind of leads all down to a video I put out in the past where I was like, hey, could there be a gaming crash incoming? Maybe not to the level of degree like what happened back in the 80s, but like a soft crash where it's like, hey, these games are so expensive. It doesn't take too many, trips along the road where it's like you're stumbling and you can easily be shutting down a whole bunch of studios or shoot, have a whole entire AAA studio
yeah.
company go down. Like that would be nuts. I'm just
Listen,
saying. I'm just saying.
yeah, like listen, I've heard the stuff about Tencent, and as much as I don't like Ubisoft, I don't like Tencent either. You're like those, like if Tencent gets control, you really think we're gonna get better games from them? No, they're gonna enforce a bunch of, they're gonna enforce a bunch of shit to cater to China, which
Mhm.
I don't, I'm not political. I don't care about politics or anything, but it's just, this isn't even a political statement to make, is that they will cater to China,
Oh yeah, no,
whether
no,
that's
yeah, no. They
whether
done
that's
did that
removing
mess with
certain
my
things.
visions of Mana, man. I ain't a fan of
Yeah.
Tencent. It's crazy how much stock they got in like a lot of different gaming companies just in
Well, because
general.
money.
Yeah,
It's just, you know, a lot of companies chase that China money.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
a lot of people, and not a lot of stuff gets over there.
yeah. So I think outside of that, that's all the beef I really want to discuss about with Ubisoft, at least for the time being. Unless something bigger, major happens, or they actually start to look for a buyout and stuff, then honestly, we'll see. Though it's just crazy
But
to see Ubisoft that almost kind of become like an EA-ish in some vibes and aspects, not in all
uh,
regards though. But it just kind of gives off that vibe, at least for me personally.
yeah, consider this though. Microsoft.
No, 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 no. We ain't going down that road, Steven. We already got one court case thing going on
I
between
know,
Nintendo and
but
Stupid Power World. I don't need a second one that's going to last for like, how long it took to get,
Activision.
Bethesda or Activision Blizzard. We ain't
Yeah,
going down that
but
road. Get that
if
mess
it,
out of your mind
no,
and redact that statement.
if they do that, that's gonna be just even, it's just gonna be even crazier. All the
Mm-mm.
stuff that they just want to consume up.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
they can't.
y- we'll find out. I think we're gonna get an answer to this one in the next coming weeks.
Hmm. Alrighty then. Well, that's going to do it for that news topic. Let's go ahead and roll it on over to some level 5 stuff. So we're going off the negative side. We're going to go back on the positive side. We got to have a little bit of yin and yang balance going on right here, though. But obviously, in the lead up to Tokyo Game Show, we did manage to get some new upcoming news for level 5s and all of their future plans that they had scoped out in terms of like some upcoming projects they have in the pipeline. And they had some updates for the game that you were looking for, and then they had some updates for the game that I was looking for. So, Steven, go ahead and give your spill on your fantasy life update.
I can't wait for Fantasy Life. I really can't wait. Fantasy Life, the girl who steals time, is an instant buy for me. And I love the original on 3DS, and this kind of just looks like the original, but more and better. And also, it's gonna have online support, and it's gonna release on consoles that are not gonna die. Hopefully, it's not that the 3DS was dead, but the 3DS wasn't necessarily the place I go for online gaming. So like, at least for me, I know Sonic's getting it, or maybe you'll get it. I'm just happy, even if I just play it with one person. That game is still pretty fun to play single player, anyways. But still, it's gonna be just a little fun, cozy game because it's like an RPG where you have classes, you can level them up. So pretty sure you could switch between your classes. So you could spend like a whole day defeating monsters and leveling up your sword fighter class or whatever. And then you could just spend a whole different day just learning how to cook and stuff.
Yeah. So I was like, I was, that's pretty cool and all, but then you didn't even talk about when the game was going to come out because we
Well,
already had this game delayed.
because I kind of forgot what they said. I know it's early 2025. I forgot exactly what the date they gave was. Do you know?
Oh, ooh, that's a good question. I thought I had all this stuff
Probably. I thought
marked
it was
down. I was
February.
scrolling through their website like right then as you were saying that though. Ooh, you might have to Google it. I thought they would have had wait, no, release April of 2025.
Oh
That's
yeah,
when it's
that
coming
that's
out.
better. I think that's good because not much is coming out around then. Well, February's
Or
got
at
a couple
least that we
releases.
know of right now. I feel like 2025 is going to be a crazy year. Don't get me wrong,
Oh,
because with the
definitely.
Switch 2 release, and then by that point, who knows what kind of games that they got set up. We already know Sony's going to start putting out games like Ghost of Yote and stuff, which we'll talk about that later on in the show. Along
Yeah.
with who knows what else. Like 2025 is going to be a crazy year. Just prepare for it though. But
Doom the Dark Ages.
oh yeah, oh shoot,
I
yeah.
can't wait.
So I think they might have done it justice because had it launched this month in October, it might have got flooded out. I don't think there would have been a lot of eyes up on it,
Oh, it
unfortunately.
would have. I'm genuinely well. I'm glad it got delayed, but a 6 month delay is kind of insane.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it's either they're gonna spend more time working on it and improving it, and it wasn't ready, or they're just gonna leave it on the back burner already done.
yeah. And then outside of that, that one looks pretty nice. I have to keep my eye on that. I know you're excited for it though. My personal one that I was looking forward to is Stinking Deca Police. And gosh dang it, they
Uh
pulled the rug out on me on this one though, because we went from this game that was supposed to come out. Honestly, I think it was supposed to be last year. If memory serves my if memory serves me right, I think it was supposed to come out last year. And then we thought potentially it could have came out this year. They delayed that mess all the way to 2026.
at
I'm
least
like,
now we
shoot.
we at least know of a Switch game releasing in 2026,
Yeah,
unless they
so
cancel the Switch version.
well, and that's a crazy thing too, because obviously it's scheduled to come out for Steam, PS5, PS4, and Switch. But at that point in 2026, you know, gosh dang well that Switch 2 is already going to be on the market at that point. So wouldn't it surprise me or behoove me that Level 5 is also working on a Switch 2 version to go alongside with it? Or obviously, if the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with the Switch,
Mm.
regardless, you'll find a way to be able to play this thing on a Switch 2.
Yeah, obviously, because level 5 kind of does a lot of Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm looking forward to that. It sucks that we have to wait that late, but I feel like that might be in the first half of 2026. I doubt it'll be in the late half.
Yeah,
But I guess the ambition for that game, everything I've been seeing, has gotten so big. They're literally gonna have an anime to go alongside with it, which for a level 5, I was like, okay, they're trying to push the agenda on this, kind of like how they used to do with like Yokai Watch back in the day. Though, like they're pushing Deca Police really hard, so hopefully it turns out to be a really great and solid game because level 5 does have that stuff where it's like they can be clicking when they want to. And honest, no, I was about to say something, but maybe not quite that though. But honestly, like some of the stuff they have, they just feel like good, solid Nintendo games, or at least when you look at them, you will kind of get that vibe and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just gonna have to put that in the far back end of my mind because it's gonna be a hot minute until we have that
yeah.
game. Now,
Especially like if people like the Yokai Watch.
yeah. Funny enough, we did not get anything Yokai Watch in this presentation.
Well,
They talked about 7 different things, but Yokai wasn't on this list.
we got the spiritual successor, the Yokai Watch announced. Or like,
Yeah, yeah, we might as well go ahead and talk about that one next because I think I think that was like the eye opening one because we didn't know about that going to the presentation though.
yeah.
But that spiritual successor is called Holly Horror Mansion, which, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, I mean, technically you have spooky games and stuff, but looking at that title and looking at the way how the game looks like it was directly inspired from like Luigi's Mansion, but pumping a whole bunch of other stuff up in it though. Like the logo just screams Luigi's Mansion to me. I'm like, wait a minute. So I had to keep
Yeah.
my eye out on this one. And unfortunately, I don't think they gave anything like a release date. I mean, I'm
It's
scrolling
def
through the website
I
just to make sure, but
it's
yeah,
definitely
it
not
is
gonna
a
be ready yet
yeah.
because even I think in that trailer the backgrounds were like AI art. So they definitely don't have anything done for this game. They just wanted to announce it.
I mean, yeah, they got some cool images and stuff. I was like, I'm scrolling through the website and stuff though. Like even the stinking tower that you're supposed to go through and explore is reminiscent of like almost like a like the tower in Luigi's Mansion 3. It's uncanny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
The
literally is a spiritual successor.
th-
I'm looking at some of
but
these other
that's
creatures and
just
stuff.
well
Yeah.
that's just how a mansion or a hotel looks. And not every mansion is Luigi's Mansion. With the cartoony art style, it's gonna end up looking similar.
Mm.
It's just, the genre. I'm assuming it's gonna be like a monster collecting game that
It
takes place in
probably
a
is.
mansion, which is
Yeah.
probably gonna be interesting. Um, and then that game looks cool and all, but we know nothing yet. Professor Layton is what a lot of people were waiting for, and I don't know a thing about Professor Layton, but it looks cool.
I don't know a thing about Professor Layton outside of the fact that I know there was like a Phoenix Wright game crossover with it, and I bought that game because I love myself some Ace. I love myself some Ace Attorney and stuff. So I bought that game on the 3DS digitally before that. The eShops and
Yeah,
stuff closed. So eventually, one of these days, I'll get around to booting up the 3DS and probably playing through that game. But outside
Professor
of that, that's all I
Layton.
know about Layton.
Layton seems like a game series you'd like. I think it's like 6 games. They were all on like the handhelds.
Yeah, I think they had a whole bunch on the 3DS one.
They're
Yeah.
they're on phones as well, like
Mm.
remastered versions, from what I've heard.
And that game is coming out in 2025.
Yeah,
So it seems like they got a decent amount of stuff. Like what they got Professor Layton coming out in 2025. They also got Your Fantasy Life coming out in 2025. Then in 2026 they got Deca Police. So
and
some pretty good stuff.
I don't even know what Inazuma 11 is, but that's also coming out like 2026.
I'm looking at this one right now. It's like what, like almost like a soccery kind of
Yeah,
game and stuff.
but
I'm trying to pull up this teaser
I've
trailer.
never heard of it
I'm
before
looking.
this.
I was about to play this thing. I was making sure that if I hit play up on this thing, it wasn't gonna actually play this random Japanese music in the background though. But I mean, like, play some sports games here and there though. But like, I don't play like a whole lot. So I don't know like how well this one will wind up turning. Oh, it's kind of chibi-ish. I don't know about this one. Maybe not for me though, but I mean I like the animations and stuff, like what they got with the talking and stuff though.
Yeah,
But
it just I don't know. It's a soccer game. Like how much could you really do? How much
yeah.
how interesting could it be? Maybe it's a game that will be like a sleeper hit and I'll find out in 2 years. I don't know.
Well, the one that I was looking at, I guess they have two. I was looking
Yeah,
at the titles,
there's
like
like
they got two. One that's RE and one that's Victory Road. Hold on, let me look at the
yeah,
Victory Road
one of
one.
them's a one of them's a remake, one of them's like a new game. The new game's the 2026 one, I think.
Oh, and they got like a worldwide beta test demo that's gonna be along the way
Oh
as well.
god.
Oh wait, hold on. Okay, so the one that's the new one. Oh shoot, that's like they had a whole anime cutscene and stuff. Okay, level 5, trying to speak to me a little bit here though. Hold up here.
I
Okay, yeah,
think I
that look.
remember
Wait, that
seeing
has
it.
some actual RPG elements. What the heck, bro? I was expecting just a general soccer game. This thing is like literally like a whole.
Oh
What the
yeah,
heck?
like it's more than soccer, but like I don't know. It didn't it didn't
This
compel
is
me.
this is soccer on steroids. I'll keep my eye out on this. If anything else, even if I don't play this, I might sit down and watch somebody play this. That looks crazy. All right. Oh shoot. I should have saw that one before starting this
Yeah.
podcast though. I might have had more thoughts about this thing though.
And I think that was it for level 5, right?
Well, there was one more game. What was it called? Megaton Musashi
I
was the other one. It was like a mech
didn't
related
even
one.
see this.
I just pulled up their website because that's where it had all that stuff. It's like you know like those mech kind of games, which I'm not a fan of any of those mech games and stuff. So I'm like, whatever. This one I'll probably just fly by that. Outside of that, Steven, that's about it. So the key takeaways to keep your eyes out on: Fantasy Life and Professional Layton. Those come out 2025, and then you have Deca Police and then that crazy soccer game coming out in 2026. And who knows about the Holly Horror Mansion thing. So out of everything they showed, I'm interested in about two, three slash four games. 3/4, depending
I'm
on how some of these
interested in
reviews are.
fantasy life, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Ooh, all right. Well, level 5, y'all probably had maybe one of the better presentations during Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah,
At least that could have been potentially more entertaining than I think a lot of what the other companies probably put out, to be honest. Ugh, well, outside of that, Steven, anything else on level 5, or we'll keep this thing rolling to the next Tokyo Game Show thing?
um, I guess that's it. Yeah.
Alrighty then. All right, so that was it in terms of level 5 stuff. Now let's spin it over here to what Xbox had to show, which honestly it's a good thing I didn't sit down and actually watch this show and see everything they announced. Because literally, especially if you're someone like me who really loves themselves some, RPGs in general, you can just get the cliff notes. So basically everything that might have been announced up in that show. And luckily, my good old boy Wario 64 came in clutch because he literally came in and said like all of the stuff that was basically announced within the Tokyo Game Show that Xbox has prepared. So I'm trying to pull up the list. I'm scrolling through my thing right. Aha, there we go. All right, so I'm just gonna steamroll through a lot of these because
Uh,
a lot of these I already have played or I know about or I'm not gonna plan about playing. But here we go. So we got the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. It was a shadow drop out now. Legends of Mana, Trials of Mana, and We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie. All you need is help. That was too much. It's available on Game Pass today.
yeah,
StarCraft Remaster and StarCraft 2 on PC Game Pass November 5th. Immortal Pillars expansion coming to Asian mythology retold. Camp Pets, what the heck? Coming to Fallout 76 in December. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle fully localized in Japanese. They're trying to pull in that Japanese audience. Overwatch 2 and My Hero Academia collaboration.
No.
Okay, that was wild right there. I'll circle back to that. Fragpunk beta on October 10th. What the heck is this one? Synduality Echoes of Ada out on January 24th. Tanuki Pawn Summer announced and Threads of Time announced. So a decent amount of RPGs up in here. But when I'm looking over here at all these Mana games, Legend of Mana already on that. Trials of Mana already on that. And then obviously the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster already on that. All those games I own on the Nintendo Switch already. It's like I feel like a lot of the Japanese players probably already own a lot of these games that might have been announced coming to Xbox on their Nintendo platform of choice, or maybe on a PS4 if they don't own a
Yeah.
PS5. I don't think
I
they're.
think
I don't know.
I think
These
I think
announcements
X-
kind of eh.
well, Xbox usually kind of just gets the table scraps, to be honest. Besides their exclusives, everything kind of comes to them late.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really expecting anything crazy out of this presentation. Like maybe the craziest was the collaboration with My Hero Academia and stupid
Oh my
Overwatch
god.
2. I'm like, come on, I love myself. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I thought I was looking on the wrong spot on OBS. No, but I love myself some My Hero Academia. But at the same time, I don't know about that crossover with Overwatch 2. Like it's I mean, I know Overwatch is kind of big and stuff, but like it's not nearly as big as what it used to be. So I don't know. Honestly, looking through this list, that was a pretty mediocre show. I'm glad I did not watch that. I know you glad you didn't watch that either, huh, Steven?
Yeah, weren't weren't most of these shows really early in the morning as well to like,
Yeah, I mean, because the
work with
Japanese
Tokyo?
time zone.
Yeah, yeah, which isn't a bad thing, but like,
mm,
good thing I didn't miss anything important.
No, yeah. Okay, but there was only, and I believe only, let me look at this. There was only one good thing I think that might have been up in the I don't know. Wait, hold on here. Did I say threads of hold on here. There's only one good announcement that came out of here. Okay. Everything I listed was either games I already own, already played, or I'm really not interested in, yada yada yada. Or maybe games I'm looking forward to like Indiana Jones, but I'm gonna play that on PS5. However, Steven, there was one diamond in the rough with all of these announcements. Threads of Time. That one right there stood out to me as potentially maybe the next big indie game because while I was looking at that trailer, it definitely looked like, and they came out in statements saying this was inspired by Chrono Trigger. I know for a lot of people out there, Chrono Trigger is like one of their favorite, if not, their number one game of all time. I was just looking at the cutscenes, the beautiful pixel art and stuff like that. And obviously, it's not anywhere close to releasing. They didn't give a time frame window for it though. But that's definitely an indie game. I'm gonna definitely keep my eye out on. It's probably something kind of close to Sea of Stars, but maybe it's gonna be a few steps higher than that. So that one had potential. I like the first impressions it gave off, but outside of that, that's all I can say about this show. Like that was probably the one good announcement in this thing. Have you seen that Threads of Time trailer?
I did see like snippets of it. I think it looks interesting and all, but like a lot of games are inspired by Chrono Trigger. Like it's kind of like, you know, and it's
Yeah,
kind of weird. Listen, I like HD 2D, but I feel like too many games are doing it.
feel like you say too many games are doing it, but like when I sit down and look at the quality of what games are being put out for the HD2D, it's like some people will attempt it, but it doesn't really hold up. So I really just kind of put a slash by it, unless you're like Square Enix, and I think there's like maybe one other company that might have done it one other time. Like I feel like they're the ones that kind of got this thing ironed down, but outside of that, there ain't too much more to say about Tokyo Game Show. Those
Yeah.
were about pretty much all the highlights there. So, Steven, unless you got something else, keep this show
No.
on the rolling. Alrighty then. And then lastly, in terms of like major news that was kind of leading up to, or in terms of game announcements stuff to the lead up of Tokyo Game Show, we did have a state of play that happened a few days before Tokyo Game Show. And Steven, we're 3 of 3 on these presentations, guessing them out when we were talking about them on the podcast, and they literally happened the same week in
Yeah.
terms of like, well, in terms of presentations or like big major news like the PS5 Pro and all that stuff. Like we hit this one on with the nail on the head, but they managed to come out with a decent list of announcements in terms of the state of play stuff. Oh shoot. I like how I had this thing marked up in our little schedule thing. I do not have all the list of games that were actually revealed up in. I know the opening, I know the closer, and I'm trying to think about, and maybe a couple things in there I remember. I'm trying to think of like the rest of the list, but while I'm trying to whip up that list here real quick though, Steven, you can go ahead and talk about the Astrobot DLC because that looked kind of promising.
Alright, so the Astrobot DLC, I am excited for because it's basically like, time attack, it's speedrun. I don't know if it's through the main levels as well, but they are making specially designed levels for it as well. And that game, I wouldn't even say that game's easy. Like it has some more challenging things as you get to the end, but it never truly made me struggle. So some more challenges kind of to test your skill, which I don't know when these are unlocked from, but some new challenges at the end of the game to test your skill is pretty nice. And also new bots to get is pretty cool. They showed Helldivers, Stellar Blade. Sure there's going to be others in the credits for the game. There was like Rayman and a couple other things, which they'll probably be bots in the DLC too. And then besides that, I'm content that they're just doing free DLC. I'm pretty sure this is all free.
Yeah, it's all free. They said it was coming out in the fall time, and the way how they worded it, it made it seem like that this update
Mm.
could be the first of what's potentially more to come. You have to
I
go back
hope
and see
so.
exactly the way how he worded it. But I would not put past Sony to say, hey, this one update we're getting in the fall is gonna be the end of Astrobot's content updates and stuff. Like I wouldn't put it past them. I feel like we might be getting a little bit more stuff. Whether or not that's paid or not, that who's to say on that. But I feel like we could get something else. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. But I do like the speedrun levels. Those look really cool. Obviously, collecting some more bots, that's gonna be nice. So if you got the platinum, Steven, you're going to get your butt back up in there and go back
Hey,
to
I
work.
ain't complaining about playing more Astrobot.
But I did like how they started off that presentation with like the way how they should be leaning on him as a mascot character. I just love the statement they came out with it though. And the fact they came out with this DLC so soon, I'm like, okay, that's really solid though. But anything else you got to say about Astrobot? Wasn't too much though, but it was just a nice
Yeah,
little
it
good
was.
start.
Oh, trust me, I could talk about this game for a while, but no, I can't. Besides, all I could really say is that I kind of hope we just get like a World 6 as DLC. It'd be cool. Did you
Yeah.
ever beat Astrobot, by the way?
Oh yeah, no, I beat it. Was it some point last week or the week before
Yeah,
last?
I had forgot
No,
to
it had to
ask
be
you.
week before last because I beat it right before Echoes of Wisdom came out.
Okay, yeah, what a peak game, and I really hope they just keep supporting it.
Yeah. All right, so I
But
managed to get this list. Finally, I got
yeah,
this list. So we'll blast through some of these. Stop me, Steven, if something kind of stood out, or you got some 2 cents to put up in the
uh,
in the pot. But after that, they managed to showcase off the Midnight Walk, which I was like, okay, don't look like a
that
game for
game has
me.
a really interesting art style. It
Was
was like
that
the
the
stop
one with
motion
the
one.
yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, the stop motion one. And then you had one that was called Hell Is Us, and I'm like, golly,
It was
that thing reminded me of the nobodies from Kingdom Hearts 2. Like
it,
them white freaky little things walking across. I was like, what the heck?
it was a weird ass trailer, but like in the good way. Let's say like the good kind of weird.
After that you had Metro Awakening, then you had Arch Age Chronicles. Wait, hold on,
Arcade,
Perry.
yeah.
Was that the one that ran on for way too long? No, no, no,
I think that was
no, no, no.
Dragon Age.
No, that's Dragon Age. All right, no, not that one. Okay. Then you had Power World, which Power. Oh man, that was funny because they literally came out and they shadow dropped that mess. It dropped everywhere except for Japan. Maybe that's because of the
I
court cases and
wonder.
stuff. But then it was like a week or so later or so, and now it's available for Japan. So if you're in Japan, you can play the game now though. But yeah, that was weird. I didn't have that one on my bingo card though, but mm, I know Nintendo's over there licking their chops like, man, we're about to tear them a new one though. Okay, I give Sony a little bit of credit on this announcement though. The Lunar Remaster Collection, which Sonic Q was talking to me about this one, and he was saying how obviously these are like some old school classics from the PS1 era, and he managed to actually play these these original games back in the day. Never managed to finish them, so it's like, oh, he said he's going to keep an eye on them, and he probably will pick it up. Obviously, it was announced at a PlayStation, State of Play, but it's also coming out to Nintendo Switch, and I think available on PC as well.
Yeah,
So if you have a Nintendo Switch, hey, this is one of those titles you could probably pick up though. I mean, I love the way how it looks, and I'm always down for a good RPG if it got a good story up in there, a good gameplay mechanic though. So I'll check that one off. I was like, okay, that one might catch my curiosity a little bit.
I think they were originally on Sega Saturn, or they were on something that could display video. I had like
Hmm.
full video for the cutscenes, but
Yeah,
also PS1 where the cutscenes looked normal.
yeah. Which for them to put out those kind of level cutscenes back in the day, I say that was pretty impressive stuff though. So I,
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked it. And
a
then
cou- a couple games started doing that. One I could think of is Mega Man 8.
hmm, And then I think after that, we managed to have Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie pack. I did not think we're going back in that era where it's like, all right, we're going to have the movie, the game, advertise the movie, but then the movie also advertised the game, though. Literally, you're going to have some levels in Sonic X Shadow Generations where it's like literally Keanu Reeves, the voice actor of Shadow in the movie, is actually going to be voicing Shadow in some of these select stages,
I think
and the
it. Well,
render
I
for
don't.
Shadow is based upon the movie version of it.
I think it might just be one level. They specify just a new level. It
Hmm.
could be two acts, but either way, even if it is just one single level and like maybe a boss, it's really cool looking.
Yes, I didn't have that one on my bingo card. That was crazy right there. I was, you know what, and it was also a little wild because I was looking at that trailer, and I was thinking when I was sitting there watching, I was like, they had the helicopters and stuff flying by and stuff. I was like, man, oh man. I was like, if Sega came out before even dropping out Sonic X Shadows Generation and said, we're remaking SA2, because I was afraid one of them helicopters was going to come in and you're going to have like that clash between Sonic and Shadow. That's what I thought they were about to set up. I was about to lose my mind on stream, and I was recording my reaction up on that mess though. But no, this is still cool. A lot more tame, makes more sense. But pretty cool announcement.
Yeah, and speaking of Sonic stuff, I'll just quickly mention the Sonic Central. We got the story trailer for Sonic X Shadow Generations, which has characters from Sonic 06 in it, and also, Maria and Gerald Robotnik, which are really cool to see again, fully voiced.
Yeah, and
Um,
they had that presentation in the lead up to Tokyo Game Show too.
yeah, the
Leave it up to
24th.
me that me and Sonic got a mixed bag of relationships. I didn't have a slot for him on the thing, and Steven reminded me before we went live on the air. So we're just squeezing this little fact up in there though. And then like what we also have those animations of the Sonic or the Shadow.
Yeah,
Was it
Dark
what do you call
Beginnings.
them? Yeah, Dark Beginnings. Those
It's
YouTube
really
videos
good.
they're dropping.
I've seen the first two parts. I know you've waited. They're really good. We also have they announced the new Chow Tales thing, like an animated series with the Chow.
Man, don't even get me started on them Chow, man.
I know.
Every time I hear the word Chow, I get mad at Sega because they need to stink and do something with them Chow, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Mm.
well here they already said that they're not gonna do a standalone. So like at this
Man,
point,
forget them for not doing a
the
standalone.
I don't know, best chance of getting a Chow Garden again is a remake of the adventure games. That's the only way you're getting it.
Oh, goodness. But anyway, I think outside of that, they had some pretty cool stuff. in terms of those YouTube videos they're putting out on Shadow, at this point, I might as well just wait till they drop the third episode. And I'm just gonna streamline all three of them back to back. No, I'm just gonna do it at that point because like when does the next episode drop, Steven? Like on Tuesday?
Next episode drops. I think it's Thursdays.
Oh, Thursdays.
Either
I
Thursdays or
thought one of y'all
Fridays.
said it was like on a Tuesday or something at one
I don't
point
think
last
so.
week. Okay. All right. Well, just remind me when that one drops. I'll sit down and watch all three back to back and make it like a actual length of an
Gotcha.
anime episode. But yeah, so that was it in terms of the Sonic the Hedgehog three movie pack stuff. Then they showed off Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge DLC, which I was like, dang, this game's still getting DLC. We need to sit down and play this game again. So I feel like since the last time we played it, they put so much stuff up in this game. It's been kind of wild to be honest, though. But I think this might necessarily be their last update for the game, unless they want to pull something else out of their hat, though. But game still looks cool. I enjoyed my time up with it, though. I just need to sit down and play my part of the DLC.
Yeah. Um, they got an Ultimate Edition of the soundtrack. So if they're doing an Ultimate Edition of the soundtrack for TMNT,
Hmm.
probably done with content.
Yeah.
Which my God, got that game got like a lot of free updates. I think
Oh yeah, it
they
sure
were all
did.
free. Maybe I'm wrong.
Hmm. Let's
It's
see.
cool, honestly. It I have the game, I just haven't played it nearly enough. I should get to that.
Yeah. And I think outside of that, these next few announcements, and then it didn't necessarily have me hooked. You had Fantasia Neo Dimension, and then after that, you had Dragon Age the Velguard. That game right
Fantasian looks
there,
cool.
what was it? The Dragon Age one, man, oh man, that's where Sony dropped the ball hard. There's
Put me to
no
sleep.
good reason why they should have. The pacing was pretty good up until this point. Even if you didn't necessarily like some of the games, they had that natural good flow. I will say a better flow than a lot of their previous state of plays until they hit this one. And oh shoot, I think they were on this game for 5 or 6 minutes. Way,
Concord 2.
way too long. Way too long. I know the game was supposed to come out this month in October, but like, I know they probably paid you big bucks to show off a lot of it though. But like, 2 minutes should be at tops, and that 2 minutes should honestly be reserved for like your first party games and stuff. And anything longer than 2 minutes, I'm like, say we're gonna showcase off some more stuff after the show's over with in its own dedicated things. If you're a fan of it, you can bounce on over to that. I feel like that's the road you need to go down. But more than 2 minutes is way too long. And this thing was like, ooh, 5 or 6. But anyway, outside of that, then you had Alan Wake 2 DLC. All right. It had some Hitman VR stuff, which I wasn't expecting, Steven, any VR updates. Were you expecting that going to this presentation?
No. Well, actually, wait. Um, I was expecting one. I was expecting new FNAF game, but we didn't get it.
Hmm. Nope, no FNAF this time though. You got it the last time. You can't get lucky and get it all the time.
I know.
Let's see. And then after that Hitman, then we had Soul Reaver remasters, which I was like, okay, that's not gonna do it for me. Then we had Lego Fortnite, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh shoot, Steven, him and
I
that controller. I was like,
I still really like how, days before, we might have even mentioned it in the last podcast about the stupid ass Fisher Price controller thing that one of our friends was saying, how the blue controller looked like a Fisher Price controller. Of
yeah.
course, that's the one they put a bunch of stupid ass Fortnite decals on.
Ugh, I know that's funny though. Even though that blue does not look like that. I don't know what's wrong with some people nowadays. I feel like some people are colorblind and don't even know. I'm just saying. But man, oh man, that was wild. I wasn't really expecting that though. A Lego game based on Fortnite. Ooh, I don't even want to know how much money that's gonna make. That might be a little crazy.
Well, it's been
Um,
out for a while.
yeah. And
It's
then you
mostly
had
the controller that will make a lot of money.
what was it? Oh, and then next up you had Dynasty Warriors Origins, which don't get me wrong,
Let me get
there's
that.
probably some fans that like Dynasty Warriors, but the only Dynasty Warriors I like are the ones with a crossover with something. Uh,
Xenoblade, give it to me.
shoot, that, hey, maybe Switch 2, maybe Switch 2. That would be a real. I mean, they got enough characters now to do that between their DLC stuff and the mainline games. Man, I would love to see that. And then you had Monster Hunter Wilds, which at this point Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be in every presentation moving from this point forward until the game releases. But we did manage to get an actual release date for this because it is coming out now, February 28th, 2025. So we did manage to get the first time reveal of a release date for this game. So don't have to wait too much longer for this one, though. But we'll see how this Monster Hunter game does because some people that aren't necessarily a big fan of the story, they just want to just do it for gameplay. It might be rubbing them off the wrong way, but at the end of the day, the Monster Hunter people are going to still buy this game. Let's just keep it real. All right, then we get to the interesting part of the show where I think it really started to pick up just a little bit more from announcement to announcement, for better or for worse, Steven, because we had Lego Horizons Adventure, second Lego game they talked about up in this presentation. In which case, I know you're a big fan of Lego. So are you going to pick up Lego Horizons?
When it goes on sale. It
When
does
it,
not it does not seem all that interesting to me.
All right, now better question is when it goes on sale, will you get it on PS5 or will you get it on Switch?
Probably Switch, honestly.
That actually kind of makes sense because it's like who knows, that could go up for uh, a pretty penny in some point in the distant future, knowing that that's a first party studio PlayStation game that is put out on the
Well,
Switch. Like
ML
we're used to Xbox putting stuff on other rival platforms and stuff, but not so much with PlayStation.
well, MLB The Show came to Switch.
Well, yeah, but that's technically a sports game
That's
with
the
like
PlayStation
nothing
game.
that's like a unique IP associated, like nothing that Sony originally built an IP from the ground up on. Whereas like
I guess
Aloy is
so.
like, okay, that's a PlayStation character. From that regard, we hadn't
Yeah,
seen it.
I gotcha.
I think yeah, and then we went from that one Horizon announcement to the other one, and this was the one announcement that was not. Hold up. Yeah, so this was the one announcement that literally could not hold its water. And everybody and their mama knew about this one at this point, though. And we're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster.
Oh my
Man,
god.
oh man. I was like, golly, they done did this mess. There's technically going to be three stinking versions for this game, Steven. Three, from the PS4 version to the one that, if you had the PS4 version, your PS5 would naturally enhance it on the PS5. And then now
Exactly.
you got the remaster one. Like now we're starting to do some Last of Us level stuff. I know they want to expand the Horizon franchise. Like what? Now you're doing crossover at Lego. You have this. You have a Horizon show in the works though. And I get it. You're trying to push the Horizon agenda. And at one point we're probably gonna get the third game that's gonna kind of conclude off maybe this Horizon series for the time being though. But man, I feel like this is really not necessary. I don't know about you, Steven, but I'm like, why?
Money.
I know money is like a good answer for almost everything, though. But like, you got to know when enough is enough, or at least you would think. But I don't know. And the funny thing about this, Steven, is the fact that even with the Horizon stuff, keep in mind if you were to look on the PlayStation Store, this game originally, the original PS4 version, cost $20.
Yeah,
And they
exactly.
raised that mess up to $40 because they are going to be nice and allow you to buy if you had the game originally, even if you had the game from COVID like me, you can pay $10 and upgrade. But mind you, the game was originally $20 for the PS4 version on the PlayStation Store. They raised that price from 20 to 40. So if you were to go through there and buy this game now, you'd be paying $40. And if you wanted to enhance it, it gets up to the $50 MSRP that they're actually selling this game for. So that right there, ooh, I people saw that and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe Sony done did that." And I was like, I would not put it past them to do this to make sure that there's no way you can kind of cheat the system out and get a quick, easy upgrade. They're trying to prevent that. So I'm like, oof. Steven, were you able to claim this game as like a COVID game back, in 2020?
Yes, so I got it for
Okay.
free,
Okay.
meaning I
So
don't gotta
you're in the
buy the.
yeah, you're in the same camp as me. So you could be probably perfectly content with the PS5 natural enhanced version before you would even give Sony $10 to play the remaster one, which I get it. They add in those, was it the Horizon, not Zero Dawn, Forbidden West assets up on the thing. So they're look a little bit better than just the Zero Dawn stuff. But I mean, I don't know. Ain't too much of a difference, at least for me personally. All right, then we get down to the last few announcements, Steven. The very last few. Wait, hold on. What the heck is? Oh, this is some weird stuff. Okay, no, never mind. All right, so we get down to the last few announcements. One was a Stellar Blade crossover with Near Automata. Look, they're both fine looking women. If you're gonna do a crossover with a couple of franchises, this one makes perfect sense. I'll leave it at that. I never got around to playing Stellar Blade yet, and I know I need to sit down and play Near Automata one of these days, though. But nice to see a little collab going on between the two of them. And then we had Mark Cerny show up in this mess, Steven. And of course, he had to go through and talk about the power of the PS5 Pro.
Yeah, how similar it looks and stupid.
Yeah, I mean, they came out with some new color variants and stuff, or like if you had the,
I like
the version
those.
2 PS5, which some of those colors look nice. The white one, I feel like looks better than just our basic white we have on the PS5. So I was like, oh, if you want a better looking white, you got it now. I'm at that point. I can't afford to get any more PS5 controllers unless they do something crazy with like a Ghost of Tsushima one, or I say Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yote. If they do something with Ghost, they do something with Venom, maybe Wolverine, I might be able to easily pass on that. Those will be the only three reasons why I'll get another controller, and at that point, it'd be overkill. So I'm trying not to. Trying.
Don't do it, Zerd.
I really don't need to. I mean, four is technically all you really need. It's not like there's a Smash Brothers game on the PS5 where you can get up to 8 people playing at once.
You can
I
use
don't
them
know.
on PC. It would be more usable that
I
way.
already used that white PS5 controller for PC if I need to do 2 players on it. But yeah. Um, what was I about to say? But yeah, they started showcasing off that, and then they finally started showcasing off the games and what they would look like on the PS5 Pro enhanced. Which it's kind of funny how they saved it for the state of play. You think they would have showcased all that in the technical showcase? I don't understand why.
Yeah,
But it then led to a reveal of a new game, which could excite some people that are planning on buying a PS5 Pro to see how well this game could look on it. Though I don't blame them because they came out here with the stinger, Steven. The stinger. You got to close out your shows with a banger. Like you started off solid with Astrobot. Everybody and their mama was wondering how they're going to end it. I didn't really have any expectations going to the state of play at all. There was a game I was looking forward to potentially getting announced, and I wasn't expecting it until 2025 earliest as like one of the first early state of plays. But when they freaking showed that black and white background, and I heard that Japanese style music. I saw the wind blowing. I saw the grass flowing on the ground. I was like, heck yes, sucker punch. You showed up to this presentation because they finally announced the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. And honestly, everybody and their mama thought it was going to be Ghost of Tsushima too, but they literally calling it Ghost of Yote. And man, I am ecstatic through the moon. I would say that game, along with like Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, anything Insomniac Games put out, along with Astrobot with Team Asobi, those are my three studios I look forward to seeing basically anything they put out. The rest of them, the people that make God of War, the Horizon series, definitely not Naughty Dog. I don't like that Last of Us mess. You can miss me with that. Those are my three dedicated studios I really look forward to seeing. And Ghost of Tsushima left a really strong impact on me when I was going through and playing it. I still have more stuff to do in that game. I've been holding off on So when I got an announcement like this, I can rev up myself to get used to that style of gameplay again right before the launch of this game. They did announce it's coming in 2025. We don't have to wait too much longer. Literally coming out next year. I don't think you could do any better in terms of a closeout, in terms of a game like this. All right, I shilled long enough, Steven. I'll let you talk now.
I never played the original, so I have nothing to say. But I will say that it looks pretty cool, a little cinematically seen.
Now, Steven, if there's one game I'm going to recommend on the PlayStation, like you're already on board with it, with Astrobot and stuff, and I know you play the Spider-Man games and you like that mess. I feel like our tastes are pretty similar. Wait, did you play Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart?
I own it, but I didn't play it.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like our tastes are pretty similar. You need to get around to the Ratchet and Clank. I think you will like that. It's just a solid, platforming shooting thing.
Well, I'm sure
You'll
I'll like it. I'm sure I'll
You'll
like
like
it.
it. You'll like it. I feel like our tastes are close enough and similar enough on the PlayStation where I know you will like Ghost of Tsushima if you sit down and block out a good chunk of time to play it. And especially now when you can get the director's cut that has like all of the content up in it. So that's like the best way to get into it right now for the PS5. So I highly recommend that to you, Steven. I recommend that out to anybody else out there that has a PS5 because Sucker Punch, this is technically be one of their first games they're making for the PS5 from the ground up. Surprisingly, I think Insomniac, yeah, yeah. Oh, ooh, Steven. I'm thinking
What?
about all of the stuff from first party studios, and obviously you have to act certain ones off the table, like Concord and stuff. Like we treat like that never happened and stuff. I mean, yes, you have some games like Helldivers 2 come out though, but like major studios that everybody resonate with, like a Sucker Punch, a Naughty Dog, or whatever though, Guerrilla Games and stuff. Think Sucker Punch outside of Insomniac Games because they were technically the first. But after Insomniac Games, I feel like Sucker Punch might have been the next studio to come out with a dedicated PS5 game that's not also coming out on the PS4 that are building up from the ground up. I think they're literally the second studio to do this mess.
It
That's
will
saying a
come to
lot. And we're
it. It will
how
come to
many years
PS4.
into the PS5 launch? Like,
5 almost.
yeah, we're at
Four, 4.5,
uh,
really.
yeah, so we're basically like 4, 5. Yeah, that's crazy right there. Oh, good night. So yeah, that's just kind of saying something in terms of like the gaming industry, kind of where we're at, how long it takes to make these games, the crazy budgets behind them. Oh my goodness, that's something to think about though. But regardless, I'm really looking forward to this. Just a little bit of a heads up. If you really like some Ghost of Yote stuff, keep an eye on the channel. I have something popping out here later on this week, though. I had to chill about this game more, so I'm not trying to overdo it in the podcast because I got another video playing and cooking in the pipeline, though. But that's all I'd say on that. Outside of that, Steven, where will you place this whole entire state of play presentation at, letter grade wise?
State of play, I'm gonna give it a B plus.
I'm surprised he gave it a B plus. I technically gave it a B minus. Honestly, if it weren't for the ghost of Yote, that would have been an easy like bare minimum C. But I'm surprised he gave it a B plus.
I'm changing my mind. Just a regular B.
Okay.
B plus is almost A, and that's stupid.
That's what I'm saying. If they would have put in like another first party studio game, like if they put in Ghost of Yote and like a Venom game or a Wolverine game saying they're both coming out in 2025, that's what would have honestly I probably would have gave the thing an A at that point. Like that's what it would take probably to knock it up another letter grade though. But D minus is not bad. Sony, keep the format and the vibe that you had with the state of play moving forward. Just axe that game in the middle that took way too long. We don't need none of that mess anymore. And I think you'll about have this presentation nailed down to a T. Ooh, all right, that was a lot of games, Steven, between the level 5 Xbox announcements and the state of play. All that stuff led up to Tokyo Game Show. Man, that
Yeah,
was a lot. Oh my goodness. Now
it
we're gonna
seems
slow
like
things
a lot.
down. We're gonna slow things down. Now we're just gonna casually talk about some stuff now because Monolith Soft actually managed to have their 25th anniversary. In which case, I don't see a lot of gaming studios, at least owned by Nintendo, that get their own dedicated videos and stuff, showcase off on like Nintendo's Japanese channel, where they're just showcasing off all the games that they worked on. Obviously, some games are Nintendo owned, other games aren't necessarily are. Like some of them are like tied up with like Bandai and stuff like from back in the day though. But in some of those like celebration videos, they just had like certain scenes of like Noah and Mio from what we know from Xenoblade 3 at walking out on grassy terrain in classic Xenoblade fashion with like Shulk and Fiora on one side, and then you have Rex along with Mithra and Pyra on the other side though. And they just flashed up so many different characters from like every game that they probably ever worked on for their 25-year history, and I feel like that's probably a testament to Monolith Soft and how good they do in terms of not only for the Xenoblade series and what they actually go through and develop, but also all the other games they help and support because they supported with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. They supported with Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and the list kind of goes on and on and on. Like, I can easily tell, like, this is one of Nintendo's best studios that they got in their pocket right now. So much so that
Definitely.
they got all that glamour and fame for their personal 25th anniversary, though. So, how did this make you feel, Steven?
It made me feel happy and made me hopeful that Xenoblade 4 is coming.
That's the biggest question: is whether or not they're going to call it Xenoblade 4 or they call
No,
it
they won't.
Xeno something. They'll probably call it Xeno something else. Keep the Xeno name, but I feel like they'll branch out just a little bit though, because
But
I
yeah,
feel like
cuz
they're working on a new IP. I know they're
well yeah,
probably
cuz
working on a new IP.
it would it would kind of signify um like calling it Xenoblade 4 would be weird because I'd say 3, the DLC for 3 ends on a very nice ending. Like, call it something else, make it take place in the future in this new world that they've established.
Yeah. So I don't know.
And
I was looking at that trailer. I just love how they kind of mashed together all these different characters and stuff, and had that general vibe going off with it. It was. What was it? Didn't they drop this mess? Well, I guess because of Japan time and stuff. I felt like it was like really late at night when we just randomly saw that or something. Or correct me if I'm wrong if it wasn't like that.
no,
Okay, okay. But yeah, honestly, outside of that, there wasn't too much more to say about this because I just want to kind of bring it up though because like they're literally like one of my top two favorite studios at least right now, them and Insomniac Games. So I had to give credit where credit's due. So Monolith Soft, keep doing what you're doing, and here's to many more. Love all the work.
yeah, please keep making good games, Monolith Soft.
All right, now before we talk about the Ryujinx takedown, because I know that's been the hottest thing going around on the block right now. Steven, I know what we were forgetting. I know what we were forgetting now. You came in here in the show thinking like we were missing something. All the stinking F-Zero announcements we got randomly out of the blue. It just dawned on me. I was like, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Because a few days ago, they came out with new updates for F-Zero 99, along with two Game Boy Advance games coming to NSO. I feel like it's been a while since we did another NSO drop for F-Zero, like GP. Is that what it was called? The what it was the one that we had in America back in the day. But then you also had, I believe it's Climax, which was only in Japan originally, and now they brought it over here. I guess it's not technically fully localized, but the fact that we're able to play it in terms of like a worldwide audience now. And with those two added into
yeah,
NSO, that's technically we have access to playing every single F-Zero game, period, on the Switch, except for F-Zero GX. And you don't drop out that much F-Zero stuff with F-Zero 99 game that we had originally on the GBA, along with one that we never got stateside, and put all that stuff out on one night as like one big push for F-Zero. unless you have something in the background cooking. I'm telling you, Nintendo, if you're gonna bring F Zero out the grave, gosh dang it, you better do it, and you better do it right. Dang, Steven, I thought you were gonna say something after that.
Oh, sorry. Say that again. My
Oh,
thing was doing something.
oh no, I was about to say I was just literally saying that if they're gonna announce all of this F Zero stuff out of the blue all at once, you know it has to build up and accumulate to something big. So if you're gonna
Please.
do F Zero, you got to do it big and you got to do it right.
Well, yeah, I would love a GX remaster because that's the only one I haven't played now.
And I like it now because technically for a lot of people, they might not have access to playing it. But I mean, I have a GameCube. I went out and actually bought GX, so I technically can play every game on the Switch. And if I want to play GX, I can play it on my GameCube. So I have access to playing every F Zero game in the series history, which actually feels really great now thinking about that. So now I'm just personally looking forward to a new game, or I will take the GX remaster if that means, hey, you can play with friends online and stuff. I also will take that.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a given. And that game's kind of weird because the only thing kind of stopping it is that like Sega helped with it. So maybe like Nintendo going in and like doing something with it is gonna be harder. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it could. I don't know. But I feel like something F Zero related is bound to be happening. The
Yeah,
question
because
is like, when
they
are they going to drop it?
yeah, it's either that or they're just gonna keep updating F-Zero 99. After saying that this was the last update, they could just do another one, knowing them.
I want to put it past them. I want to put it past them. But yeah, I think outside of that, that was like the last pop up news that I could possibly think about, Steven. I'm glad I remembered
Yeah,
it because I did want to mention it though, but I think that might have been the last thing though. So
I think it was.
all right, so with all of that said and done, we're now going to transition over to our very last gaming news topic, which for a second I felt like we didn't have a whole bunch of stuff, but it kind of all added up really to this point though. But now we got to talk about the Ryujinx Takedown. Now, remind y'all, was it earlier this year, Steven?
Yes.
Yuzu got taken down, which that was probably the number one emulator for Nintendo Switch games that
Yeah,
you can play on PC and stuff. And Ryujinx at the time was like considered as number two. Like if you weren't doing Yuzu, you were probably doing Ryujinx.
it was game by game basis. Some were
Yeah,
better on Ryujinx.
yeah. And then once Yuzu got, basically Nintendo rolled up to their door front and said, you know what, you better take this mess down or we're taking y'all to court. Yeah, no, ain't nobody got money like Nintendo money. So, and they bailed out. They took all that mess down and also shot down Citra for the 3DS because it was also tied in with it though. But it's
Same
crazy
people
how
made it.
Nintendo. Yeah, it was crazy how Nintendo was even in the servers, their Discord servers for it. Those they know how to. They're them lawyers, them ninjas. I'm telling you, they don't play around though. And it seems like people were thinking, oh, Ryujinx will probably be fine for now though, but they caught up with them too because now they came up to their doorstep and said, "Hey, look, y'all need to cease and desist this mess right now, though. We'll take you to court." And they ain't got that Nintendo money either, though. So they're stopping all development for it now. So basically, the top two emulators that you probably would have done stuff for Nintendo Switch related stuff, it's off the market now. Now, technically, yes, the internet's the internet. It never truly will forget, though. But
Yeah.
the ongoing development for these emulators, that was cease to desist. So if you had some kind of crazy Switch game dropping out in the future that did some other crazy stuff that didn't really work with one of the two previous ones, though, then you just tough out of luck.
Well, yeah, because then they're not updating it for new games. Meaning, if there's some kind of flaw with a new game, they can't just fix it.
Yeah. So on one side, and then this brings up the whole moral stuff, and this always happens to be a thing that pops up every time when you're talking about emulation, because emulation in itself, we'll always keep saying that's not illegal, that's perfectly fine. it's technically where you get the ROMs from, and emulation can be basically a bridge to what can lead to piracy. And that's the whole conversation
I
that
guess.
always drills up every single time though. And I think the unique way that Nintendo's always attacking them is they're not attacking them solely from the side of people emulating the game, but they're attacking the side of, well, obviously, they can't directly attack emulation itself, but it's more like emulation can lead to piracy. So they hit more so on the ROM side of things. Like they even took down earlier this year, remember, like for places like Vim's Lair and stuff, like some places where you
Yeah.
used to be able to get ROMs, or Nintendo ROMs, should I say, like they've been going hard this year. Like I feel like it's been one thing after another. And
Oh yeah.
at least for me personally, and I'll hear your side of the story here in just a bit, but at least for me personally, it sucks that the emulators are down, but at the same point, I feel like they're not 100% necessary as of this moment right now because of the fact that you're able to still go out and buy these games. Obviously, there's a few exceptions to the rule, like Mario 35, the Fire
Yeah.
Emblem 30th anniversary things, stuff that got localized and they took down off the market. For those, okay, you have a little minor case for those, but for the 99.95% of Switch games that are out there right now, the ones that don't get delisted, we really shouldn't need to be emulating these games right now as it stands now. Now, obviously, my statement will change the second that they take down Nintendo Switch. It's not the primary console on the market, so this will be even beyond the Switch 2 if like the Switch
Well,
3 doesn't have like the Switch, marketplace up on there though, and they take down the eShop, then okay, the gray area expands a little bit. That's just my personal viewing on it.
yeah, I was just gonna say, um, how do I put this? Okay, yeah. I was gonna say that at least when it comes to Ryujinx, oh no, just when it comes to emulation in general, the act of emulating is not a bad thing. You just have to have a legal copy. Like for example, if I wanna play Tears of the Kingdom at 60 FPS and I have an official copy of Tears of the Kingdom, nothing, nothing stops me from emulating my copy after dumping my ROM.
Yeah, which that in itself is perfectly fine. It's your copy, your rights to the game, yada yada yada. In which case, when you're thinking about it from that regard, that's perfectly fine. But let's be honest, Steven, out of if we were just draw some rough ratios or percentages, people that have your mindset of thinking, I'm gonna keep it a buck 50 with y'all. You'd be lucky 10% of most people will do it the way how you just described it in the perfectly legal sense. But most people, the other 90%, let's keep it real, are going to go the other way where they're getting wrongs from somewhere else. And we've seen this with, Legends of Echoes of Wisdom, people playing the game before the game even drops out
Oh
on
yeah, and
emulators such as Ryujinx. And I was
that's
like, bro,
another that's another thing. Both Tears of the Kingdom and Echoes of Wisdom got shut down after a Zelda game leaked early, which I think is a really funny coincidence.
oh, you know what? That is funny. I didn't even think about that, bro.
Tears of the Kingdom, Yuzu got blamed for, and that was one of the primary things that Nintendo pointed out. But then when it comes to Ryujinx, it was for a couple different things, not just being Nintendo supported.
Yeah. So, Nintendo's definitely striking from this unique aspect and stuff. And I get it. Sometimes, especially in your countries where you don't necessarily have a lot of money and stuff like that, where it's like, you know what? The only way how you really can afford to play games is if you're just going through and just emulating every single game, even if you don't necessarily own the ROMs and stuff. I understand where people are coming from, but at the same point, if they take down these emulators and stuff, don't get mad and blame and start pointing a lot of fingers at Nintendo, because I mean you're just as guilty for doing it, even though you didn't necessarily own the game itself though. So it's like, you can say whatever you want, and I know a lot of people don't side with the big major companies, as you you honestly should not do. because it's like, at the end of the day, they just want your money and stuff like that. But at the same point, when you're doing something, equally as wrong, though, I mean, you only got so much wiggle room. That's all I'm saying at the end of the day. So that
Yeah.
decision's left up to you personally, and your moral standings and stuff though. But don't get mad when they do something like this, because at the end of at the end of the day, it is their games. It's not your game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they can do this. I don't think they should have, but like still, with these emulators, it just sucks that one person leaked the Zelda game, so everyone else has to suffer.
Yeah. But outside of that, it seems like that's going to do it in terms of most emulators on the Switch. Obviously, there's going to be probably some more that will pop up after this, though. But I feel like Nintendo probably might have been pushing this agenda pretty hard lately because of the fact that you're probably rolling straight into your Switch 2, which your Switch 2 might be backwards compatible with Switch games. So you still don't want that to be like a really big ongoing issue rolling into your next generation of hardware. So I think they're trying to clean it up as best as they can. Hopefully the Switch 2 has more, security measures behind it. So that way, the floodgates ain't open up on like day one, like how it was with the Switch,
Yeah,
especially like that first model of the Switch, where it's like, what, you stuck a little needle or something up in it and you were almost
yeah.
in it. And I was like, what the
It
heck?
was a hardware flaw baked into it. They can't patch that.
Yeah, so it's like, what the heck? So yeah, so more security on their next one, and I'll have them sitting pretty. So hopefully Nintendo learned a lot of lessons, at least for this whole generation for the Nintendo Switch. All right, Steven, that was a lot of gaming news stuff. I thought it was a little bit lighter than that, but gosh dang it, we about almost used up the whole time though. But we still got one big game that came out a couple weeks ago that we at least got to give our 2 cents on before we close it down for the night though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into what we've been playing. All righty. So lately, Steven, we've been going through and playing Echoes of Wisdom. Echoes of Wisdom has been the hottest thing out there on the block. I was playing this game probably up until like the last 30 minutes before we went live with this episode. And I did manage to beat, was it one, two, three, four dungeons? Four dungeons is where I was currently at.
Okay.
Did you manage to finish five?
I have done the three goddess areas.
Oh, so you're beyond me now by like
Yes.
two extra dungeons. Okay.
Yes. I'm
So I think
assuming
all in all, when it's all said
you
and done, there might be 8 areas.
yeah, you just beat the Deku area, right?
Yeah, I just beat the Deku area.
Yeah, that one's fun. Yeah, I'm a little ahead. I won't say anything about where I am, but this game, I'll just start talking about it. This game is a joy. Like it is very charming, very nice to look at. When the frame rate is good. When you're inside of a building and not roaming Hyrule Field, that the frame rate's fine. Um, ah, the difficulty is pretty balanced, honestly. I found myself close to death a couple times, and I actually did die once because enemies just do a lot of damage, and they do encourage you using those smoothies a lot, which is why I had to make a bunch.
Hey, I abused the mess out of those smoothies. Like once I figured out, oh, you can do certain combinations like what is it, the moo moo milk and the grapes, and that gives you like, gosh, close to
A lot of
10
health.
hearts or like 12 or 13, maybe 15. I'm not 100% sure. I can't
Yeah,
remember exactly. But I
it's
make a
all
lot of those, and I'll usually do like the apple with salt, and that gives me a lot of energy for your sword or link form.
yeah. There's a lot of interesting mechanics at play. I finally unlocked those like automatons. I kind of got them late in the game, so they're not that good, but it's still kind of cool.
I know where the dude is at to do it. I was missing one monster that he was requiring me to do before I could actually have access to one of the different automatons. And I'm still over there looking at that D-pad like I feel like there's gonna be one more thing, or at least what I feel like, but I'm like, I don't know. It's getting kind of late in the game. I don't know.
It could be something at the very end, or it might not.
Or it might not. Who's to say though? But overall, I've been enjoying the game a lot more than what I probably would have originally thought. Because it's the art style and stuff. It's still the same as the Link's Awakening remake that we had back when it released on the Switch in 2019. So
Yeah,
it's like, looking at that art style, some people, it rubs people off the wrong way. Like one of our friends, Alexis, like, I ain't doing him any favors. But at least for me, I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. This is kind of more so like what they do and execute within this game is what's really going to draw me in or kind of keep me entertained within this game. And the echoes or the echo ability in and of itself, I think is really cool. How it's executed is pretty poor because it was great at the very beginning. It's like a honeymoon phase. It's like, oh, okay, you love being able to spawn out like one of them sea urchin things. You kind of use that as like a sword slash early
yeah,
on to the game. And then eventually you'll learn to get like a water block or whatever. So that allows you to hit higher levels of elevation and it simplifies things instead of stacking a bunch of beds on top of each other to build like a makeshift bridge to get over a gap in the a gap in the
yeah,
terrain or whatever though. But once you get so many echoes from beating so many enemies, it becomes a real big pain in the butt to cycle through all of that mess. Because sometimes
yeah,
I'll be like, hey, I need to create a fire. I'm like, where are my echoes at? Where it's like, okay, I can cause and create a fire. And I'm scrolling through this mess for like 10, sometimes 15 seconds before I find what I need. And it
yeah.
almost takes you out of the experience.
Tears of the Kingdom has the same issue. At least in this game, you can pause the game and open up the notebook and select them that way.
Hmm. Oh, I
It's
didn't
a
even
much
think
bigger
about doing
it's a
it
much
that
bigger
way, but
menu. It's easier, but like still, it's a problem that should not be there. Why couldn't they add more rows to the goddamn the one that comes up on your screen?
and
I
they
don't
try
know.
to help you out with like what most use
But it's
or
still
the
stupid.
inanimate objects, the ones that are like monster related. Like they have it categorized in ways where you think it should be helpful, but it's still way too many things in the world that you defeat and you
Yeah.
save echoes where it's still not really doing you wonders. It kind of makes you think, why didn't they? I'm trying to think, Steven, with the controls that we have on the buttons right now, does the ZR button do anything?
Yeah, you learn stuff and you can get rid of echoes with it.
Shoot.
Yeah, listen, well,
Um,
no, you can literally just make it, Zard. You could do, like press in on the left stick or press in on the right stick. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you could press in on the sticks. I was thinking on something on the lines of like if the ZL button didn't do anything, I imagine it probably does. But if the ZL button were not to do anything or something, holding ZL and having like hot fixes on some of the other buttons like your A, B, X, or Y or something. So holding ZL and hitting X, you can map that button out to be like one of your most commonly used things for like traversal, like the water block. I'll probably have that one mapped and then I might have ZL plus B for like one of my strongest enemies I could put out to have
Yeah.
always as like a fighting thing. And then maybe one more for a traversal thing that kind of gives you some elevations, like for dungeons and stuff like the spiders. Those work pretty well in terms of like crossing over chasms and stuff. So I don't know. Stuff like that I feel like may
Or
have gotten pretty, gone pretty
yeah,
far.
or just being able to favorite specific echoes to put them at the front of the line
Or
on
that
the
too.
menu. That'd be nice. And then when it comes to the echoes, I know it's the point and everything, but like there's a lot of echoes that just you're not gonna use. Echoes that are like either eclipsed by other enemies in terms of strength, or like three like oh why do I have three different types of pottery? Like like
Yeah.
there's a lot of echoes for the sake of having them. But then when this game has a fun echo and a nice puzzle, I love it. This game has some of my favorite puzzles in a while from a Zelda game. And when it comes to dungeons, it's also great.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I will give a lot of credit where credit's due for Echoes of Wisdom is the fact that because there's so many echoes that you can get in the game, it makes problem solving in the dungeons really unique. Like Nintendo has an idea of like different ways that you can beat or get past an obstacle. Like for example, and I noticed like early on in the game, it was in the preview thing, so it's not really like a spoiler or nothing though. But if you have like a wind gusting at you that could blow you off the side of the edge, there's a few different ways you can tackle it. You can put down a tree and it blocks it completely. You can put down a crate and jump over it. Or you can also put down a trampoline and bounce on the trampoline and jump over it. Like when you start putting elements in that into the game, it makes problem solving that much more fun and creative. Like Steven, you were talking about this earlier where it was like you needed to get past a big old jet stream and you
Yeah,
could not for the life figure out how to get around it. But explain how you got around getting around that jet stream.
I used an echo of a piranha, and then I used R to follow it. So
Yeah.
I followed its movement, which also means following its momentum up the jet stream. Which I think puzzles like that are really fun. Like, oh yeah, I have all the, following enemies is this ability I have that I forgot about.
Now I thought you did it a different way, but I basically did the same thing as
Oh,
you,
okay.
but instead of using a piranha, I use a shark.
Well, no, I cheated one of them, but in order to get the mic crystal, I needed to do it the real way. The other
Oh,
one, I
okay.
just used a bunch of beds.
What the heck? Underwater?
No, no, because it gives you a bit of an area with a higher elevation. So I was able to start at higher elevation and then just run, and I was able to reach my bed, and I just had a platform to the other side.
Ah, okay, I got you. Hmm, interesting.
But it was interesting. A lot of good puzzles in the game. I like a lot of the puzzles and the dungeons as well. Real bosses, real dungeons, real music. This game has
Oh,
music.
man, oh man, it's something to go through a Zelda game for the first time since pre Breath of the Wild. Honestly, for the last Zelda game I played, I think it was Twilight Princess on the Wii U, and that might have been the last game that really had traditional Zelda sound and music up in it. So it's been well, no, okay, I played Link's Awakening. Take that back. But even before that, it's still been a while though, and it feels so refreshing to have actual music up in the game though. Like I, that can't be understated and undersold. Now, granted, yes, you have some awesome soundtracks to the lead up of some of those games for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but a lot of those tracks weren't actually in the game itself, so it's like you can only do so much with it though. So I'm like, well, what the heck?
Yeah,
But yeah, I definitely
E-
yeah, music is
Echoes of
better.
Wisdom. Echoes of Wisdom is good. I was worried about it at first, but I am having a very fun time. I'm almost at the end, and I might honestly go through it again eventually because I feel like hero mode might actually be fun in this game because
Yeah.
like the difficulty has stayed relatively scaled.
Hmm. Yeah, because I was thinking about it too, and I was like, you technically can go through and play the hero mode on day one on the very beginning when you boot up the game. You just have to go into the menu
Yeah,
options and flip the switch, and you can you could toggle it on and off throughout your whole entire gameplay. It's not like you're locked into it though. So if you crave a little bit more of a challenge, hey, you can do that though. My only little thing is like the game is challenging at times, but you can get bailed out so easily because of the crafting stuff. Like, for example, laying a bed anywhere and sleeping in it. As long as you're
yeah,
not
but
fighting
during
the enemy right then in the moment, or at least not being able to place down like a bunch of echoes that are able to protect you while you're sleeping, it's really easy to get hearts.
yeah,
Really
but
easy.
at the same time, at least for me, like I needed to use it a lot because I didn't want to waste smoothies just to gain hearts.
Oh no, I always use the bed whenever I was in chill areas, but I used the smoothies when I was like fighting bosses or an enemy kind of got me down low in health, and there's no way I can sneak off and lay in the bed real quick. I had to burn a smoothie.
I get you.
Yeah. But outside of that, I really love the game. The story is pretty good for a 2D Zelda. Like I like the direction where it was going. I do like Zelda as a playable character. I feel like she had a lot of potential up in this game. Pretty expressive. The music definitely helps sets the tone in different scenes throughout the game and stuff. I also like the side quests. The side quests aren't super deep like what you might see in like a Tears of the Kingdom or something like that though. But I mean, it does feel satisfying going through and completing some here and there as you're just kind of going through and exploring through the world and such. So overall, I've been enjoying my time up in it. I netted about 10 hours or so. So probably by the time we had the next podcast episode, I'll be done with this game. And probably you as well, Steven. Like, you're really knocking on the doorstep of almost finishing this game at this point.
Yeah, I'll be done by like the next 2 days.
Yeah. So overall, good job, Nintendo, or at least Grezzo, which are the people that actually worked on this game, which also worked on Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time on the 3DS and stuff, though. So, what? I feel like they might have solidified themselves just like how, oh gosh, what's the studio that made the 2D Metroid games? It's slipping my mind right now.
Mercury Steam.
Mercury Steam, like how they solidified themselves as the 2D Metroid studio. I think Grezzo might have solidified themselves as the 2D Zelda studio at this point, though.
That would be cool.
Yeah, so I love all the stuff. I mean, yes, there are some hindrances and stuff. Maybe they could have optimized the game a little bit better, but overall, it's not a bad game. I thought it was really solid. So if you hadn't played this game or if you're sleeping on it, you might want to reconsider. That's all I'm saying. Any other last thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom, Steven?
No, just a really solid game, and I will talk more once we beat him.
All righty. Well, outside of that, that's basically all we've been going through and mostly playing for the most part. I'm just thinking back on like, potentially any other games I might have been going through. No, I think it's literally just been that because I already finished up Astrobot. I said that earlier up in the stream. And I still have Ace Attorney Investigation sitting on the side. I hadn't really got past chapter one. I hadn't even booted up the Persona 3 Reload DLC. I was waiting until at this point to finish Echoes of Wisdom. And what's the other one? Oh goodness, it's slipping my mind. I thought I had one other game or something like that. Oh, Visions of Mana. I'm still 10 hours up in that game. Hadn't really put much more progression up in it though, but once I finish Echoes of Wisdom, I'm gonna beeline it up in here though. But that's basically everything else I've been playing. What about you, Steven?
Um, really not that much, I'll be honest.
Hmm,
I
okay.
played Dead Rising. Dead Rising is a really fun game.
I feel like you've been talking about that game quite a bit, or at least
Well,
it
yeah,
always
because
feels like it.
I finally got back to. I beat it twice now. It's a good game. It's
Hmm,
very fun. It doesn't. It's probably not your type of game, but it's a definitely unique, like Pikmin meets Pokemon Snap meets like Devil May Cry.
okay, okay. Well, outside of that, that's all I think we've been going through and playing through. And I know in technically not next week's episode, but the week after that. But in the next episode we do, we're gonna have some games to talk about because obviously Super Mario Party Jamboree will be out by that point. We both would have played it. We will both be giving our thoughts up on it though. I think literally we'll have the game in our hands for about a few days or so before coming on the pod. So we'll talk about that. Look forward to that. And then obviously we have Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4 coming out, or otherwise known as Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. That's literally dropping out this week. I've been looking forward to this game so much so. I'm like, oh freaking shoot, yes. So I'll be talking about that in the next episode and giving the spill of how good this game potentially is and everything else in between. Because I've been waiting on another game in the series for so long, the wait is just about over. Maybe I'll get around to maybe streaming the game randomly throughout the week. Who's to say? Who knows though? But outside of that, I think that's literally all we have to go through and talk about within today's episode right here, though. So, Steven, let the fine people know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Twitter at Steven Junior 1231 or on a collab channel I do with some friends, Spaghetti Disco.
All righty. And outside of that, that's going to do it for my ZardCast episode 89. Thank you, everybody that happened to tune in for this one episode right here. I know it took me a while to actually drop out, what was it, episode 88 on my podcast service. I literally did that like shortly before going on air on this one, though. So I do apologize about that, though. I'll try to do better, especially on this one moving forward, though. But That's gonna do it for my episode 89. So if you happen to be watching this video on the YouTube side of things, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell. Just let people know in the comments, the reason why you like tuning in onto, me and Steven's pod. We're just a couple dudes that just like to go through, talk about games and stuff, though. And if you happen to be listening to this on one of my audio podcast servers, whether it be Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio. Yes, you can listen to me in the car. Also, there, just leave a written review if you please. Greatly appreciate it as well, though. But that's gonna do it for my episode 89. So remember, y'all, until our video I make next, until my next ZardCast episode, that being episode 90, man, almost 100. By episode 90, I'll see y'all later.